This is You've Already Been Hacked, recorded on 26 September 2025. Welcome back to You've Already Been Hacked. This week, we're going to get into some stories that have come full circle from some of the stuff the Cowboy and I have told you about, and there's been some updates. But before we get there, Cowboy, how's your week been?
Howdy, everybody. My week was busy, which is great, but I got to run a cyber boot camp for the students at Georgia Tech today, and those are always highlights for me. Love back and forth with the students. We talked about cyber attacks, AI, deep fakes, all the goodness, and then we did a little cyber capture the flag intro at the end. So
Nice.
my week ended on a good note. How is the professor?
Week went okay. I've been working on some automation stuff in the primary employ. I think we got that to a stable spot, so I'm happy about that. And then I finally, in the SOC here, I finally figured out what was throwing the primary virtualization server to want to crash every 24 hours, which was, in fact, just a BIOS update. So if you haven't done your BIOS updates, everybody, take a look at that, because mine was 2 years out of date and I didn't even know. So that was a good fix. Everything's gone stable since then. So happy to move on from that.
Patch management.
Absolutely, patch management. Well, but you don't really think about doing a BIOS firmware update as something that is often, right?
That's true.
Because it's hardware, right? And I know that our resident geeks, whoever in the audience, are gonna go, but you always, it's okay. We're normal people, right? You buy a computer, or you buy the hardware to build a computer, one or the other. You put parts together, computer functions. In general, you do software updates, right? Windows, Linux, Mac OS. That's where you're up. Most people don't think to do, I should be looking at, is there an update to the motherboard that's got all the parts and pieces in it. So I had a lot of frustration tracing down why I was having that level of instability. It was not making sense to me, and that was literally, I finally looked at that. I'm like, wow, they've done a lot of updates to that board. I should do that, and I did. And ever since then, it's been stable. So happiness. The SOC is back to its full operating potential. Go with that.
Fabulous.
Okay, let's get into the news this week. Our top story: the feds tie Scattered Spider duo to $115 million in ransoms. U.S. prosecutors have charged 19-year-old Thalha Jabbar and a co-conspirator with orchestrating a ransomware campaign that extorted at least $115 million from UK retailers, the London Transit System, and U.S. healthcare providers. The duo, identified as core members of the cyber crime group Scattered Spider, linked to high-profile attacks on some places we have already covered: Mark Spencer's, Harrods, the Co-op Group, and Las Vegas casino operators. The charges came after the duo was arrested in the UK, and prosecutors disclosed that the group had continued attacks through this September. Why does this matter, Cowboy? Well, this matters because Scattered Spider is a multinational, multi-tech group that blends ransomware, SIM swapping, and social engineering. The $115 million, which, as we know, is not so much when it comes to cybercrime, is a figure that underscores how financially lucrative ransomware remains for ransom-only actors. So those that have decided that is the only niche they want to participate in. The case also shows that even teens can be prosecuted under U.S. and U.K. law, signaling harsher enforcement, which I think the Cowboy and I will agree that's needed. And the group's involvement in both physical transport and data-centric attacks demonstrates the breadth of the threat actors. Lots of stuff coming full circle on this one, Cowboy. What do you think?
Well, this is great for those that listen to us regularly. One, thank you so much.
As always.
But two, yeah, we covered this probably 3 or 4 months ago now, right? Early on in the show, where and we did about 3 or 4 in a row with constant updates. And so to see, as you said, come full circle, to see folks identified and charged is fantastic. And by the way, there is reporting out that Scattered Spider is either very closely associated with or actually part of Shiny Hunters. So, how interesting. The same group that went against Caesars Entertainment and MGM back in the day, as well as Synchrony Financial Bank and stuff. So, this is big news. It's big news that they identified. It's big news that they charged, and it made me think of a show that I started watching on HBO. It's a little documentary called Most Wanted Teen Hacker, and it's about a Finnish hacker who you were talking back to when Hack the Planet was like the big name. For those that remember, Hack the Planet group, and it's not the best documentary I've ever seen, but it's good and it's interesting, and it covers like how these young brilliant kids, and how the culture changed from hacking to hacking with malicious intent, purely malicious intent, right? It started with, I want to get in just to see if I can get in, and it morphed through 4chan and these chat channels into, I want to hack in to cause damage to stuff. And very, very interesting, but sidetracked. Yes. So way to go. Big Blue, way to go, law enforcement, for tracking them down and holding them accountable. And, maybe they'll be able to recoup some of those funds.
Yeah, maybe. So what can or should you be doing because of an event like this? Well, re-audit your ransomware readiness, harden your SIM management, map out critical assets that you have that could be targeted by groups such as Scattered Spider. If you operate in the UK or serve UK customers, stay alert for possible ransom-only requests and consider purchasing cyber insurance coverage. Always something that's a market that is of interest, and ever evolving, especially with what the actuaries and how they're trying to figure out what to charge for it. So take a look into that. Our second story is also a Scattered Spider story, but it's from the U.S. side. So not only did the U.S. prosecute a U.K. person, the U.S. has prosecuted and sentenced Noel Michael Urban, a 20-year-old Florida man, to 10 years in federal prison and $13 million in restitution. Urban built an SMS phishing SIM swap network that stole over $800,000 from 5 victims, and also used stolen credentials to infiltrate more than 130 companies. The group's broader operations included high-profile cases such as Caesars Entertainment and MGM Studio Resort attacks. So again, another part of this multinational group taken down. And if you look at the ages we're talking about here, folks, these are, I don't want to say kids, young adults.
Young adults, yeah.
I guess, like, barely in society. Like, that's kind of troubling to me, honestly.
I think it has to do with they're the prime emergence of everything online in that anonymity, right? Of, you see how disgusting people can be online because they feel like there's no retribution. Like, I can say what I want and no one can do anything. And I think you're seeing that in these young kids coming up who are like, hey, we can be a part of this group and make a ton of money, and we're just going to get away with it. Well,
the old saying, right? The Cowboy, the old saying was, no one knows if you're a dog on the internet, right? And that's kind of what we're saying here.
Yeah. And that these stories are pulling that facade away. I hope people are starting to see that, hey, you're going to get found, you're going to get charged, and you're going to do time.
13 million in restitution for an individual. Now, that's the flip side of being on the dark side of the equation, right? Like, if you get caught, like as a single person, like that's not scratch. That's some significant money right there.
Yeah, I mean, especially because it says he stole 800K from 5 victims, but I guess the there must be more that he charged that and stole, right? Thus to get to that number. I don't know. I kind of want to be like, well, how's he going to pay that back, right? Hopefully, they found his, offshore bank account where he
Right.
was storing all the money and is going to pay it back. But I mean, love to see restitution, especially from. I'm not going to lie. I don't care if they pay back the big businesses, but the people, right? The
Yeah.
5 victims. I hope they get everything back plus a little interest, right? Because that's just the right thing. So, what
Yeah.
opening with 2 great stories? Wow.
You ready for this one? Our next story is also a follow-up from something we've covered in the last couple of months. The ongoing fallout from a breach at an AI chatbot maker, SalesLoft. Remember this one, Cowboy?
AI chatbots. Get after it. Let's go.
A breach of SalesLoft's AI chat platform exposed authentication tokens for Salesforce, Slack, Google Workspace, Amazon S3, and more. Attackers used these tokens to exfiltrate data from hundreds of Salesforce instances, including companies like Adidas and Qantas. Google warned that the breach was ongoing until August 28th, 2025, and urged customers to immediately revoke all SalesLoft linked tokens. So we covered this when it originally broke. And the fact that there's still problems occurring because of this is, I don't know, not shocking to me. This matters though because it shows how data exfiltration can cascade across multiple cloud services via stolen tokens. Highlights the intersection of SaaS vulnerability and ransomware. It demonstrates that supply chain attacks on chatbots can surface in major enterprise data exposures. I've talked about this before. When we brought this up, I brought up how I use an automation platform that requires, if you're going to connect to external things, you have to have your API tokens, and it just stores them. And if that platform gets compromised, it's a gold mine of access to accounts and whatever you have, basically. And this is happening now at scale. That is troubling to me. Significantly troubling to me.
Yeah, these tokens are like, web cookies on steroids. And uh, hopefully it's helping people wake up from the whole like the cloud doesn't just mean you're safe. It just means that you are paying somebody else to take on some or most of your cybersecurity responsibilities.
Yeah.
And I'm somebody that wants total control over my stuff. That's just how my brain is wired. And so
I understand. That's why the
yeah,
digital SOC here exists. That's why I've virtualized everything, including us,
right.
So I understand.
Yeah, and we've talked about these chatbots and these AI chatbots, and our guest speaker last week, right, talked about how he, an AI expert, was didn't know he was talking to an AI chatbot till the very end, and
Till the very end, yeah.
you have to look at what these chatbots are connected into, implement your zero trust architecture, and like keep these chatbots from having access to stuff that they shouldn't, and don't create a new threat vector into your system, because you want that chat box to pop up on the website, which, by the way, I think most people find super annoying. I do.
Oh,
I hate
absolutely.
it.
I think that, again, I don't think that SalesLoft and what they're doing and the type of what they were making is necessarily inherently bad. I think that they are the unfortunate recipient of being the example of API token loss, right?
Mhm.
So I think the moral of this story, more than anything else, is these services are going to exist. The way we interact with multitudes of services is very specific ways, and those specific ways are definitely lucrative targets. So, what should or could you be doing about this if you're going to engage in automation or as Cowboy said, offload some of the responsibilities to a third party? Well, audit all of those integrations for token uses and enforce least privileged if possible, and multi-factor authentication if necessary. These are things that we say to do in general, but if you're going to give API level access to a service to do something on your behalf through automation or for whatever reason, you have to try and lock it down as best as you can. Otherwise, you're just waiting for a problem to happen, honestly. You want to rotate those API tokens if possible, especially for SaaS tools that interface with other platforms. Um, if you're doing it in a home lab environment, maybe less. Like you assume that risk as an individual, that's fine. I would never say don't rotate. I mean, you don't have to if you don't want to, but if you're doing this as a service platform that could have potentially thousands or tens of thousands or millions of customers, you should take your security with a lot more fine tooth than what you would do at an individual and be rotating your tokens. You want to do a review of vendor risk management, including token leak metrics, if that's available, and if not, maybe it should be in the contracts that you're using. And consider incident response testing that simulates a stolen token scenario. I have not seen anyone actually do that yet, and I think that would be a really interesting tabletop or red team to do. Cowboy?
I mean, how many people are really doing any type of exercise and strengthening their incident response?
Don't
Not
get me
enough.
started.
Yeah, not enough. But I mean, we're already forced, right, to change passwords regularly. Why not API keys and tokens? Like nothing should be static anymore. In today's cyber world, nothing should be static because static means once it's taken, keys of the kingdom.
Yeah, that's a true statement. Just remember when we used to not have to change our passwords that often, and now
Oh
like
yeah.
that's just a thing. I mean, I am happy that password tokens are becoming more of a thing than passwords. But I worry about that from a not how secure that is, because I know mathematically what's going on there. I get it. But there's, if the tokens get stolen and they're biometrically tied or something like that, can't change your biometrics. So what happens then, right? Like that's where some of my concern is with how we're trying to get away from the weakest link, which tends to be a password based system, to something else. And I just wonder uh how we're going to mitigate compromise with the something else as it happens. And folks, I think I've said this before on the show, if not since Cowboy's been here, definitely before. I've had some of my biometrics absolutely stolen. As a former member of the federal workforce, if anyone remembers the OPM hacks that happened earlier in the 2010s, um,
Yep, I
if
was
you
still active
were
duty.
yeah, if you had filled out an SF-86 or had your fingerprints done at any point in that time period, there were 3 OPM hacks. Your fingerprints are in the wind, and so is a lot of your personally identifiable information, right? So from that standpoint, the professor's fingerprints, these are no longer good biometric tools at all. For me, at least somebody out there knows who I am. Like, if I ever got kidnapped or something, I'm sure that would be easier to figure out at this point. But otherwise, these are never recoverable, right? So what do I do? I can use them, but if I'm considered a valuable target by whoever has them, that would be a terrible idea for me to do at this point.
Please don't get yourself kidnapped, and I'm going to have to come after you and the entire organization that took you. And I wasn't always a cyber guy, so
Well, you do have a very certain special set of skills. Not a lot of money,
set of,
but a certain set of skills.
certain set of skills with a face made for radio, which is why we're digitized.
There you go. Yes, isn't that true? Okay, our next story. A self-replicating worm has hit
There you go.
180 plus software packages.
Mm.
So at least 187 JavaScript or NPM packages were infected with a self-replicating worm dubbed Shai-Hulud. For those that know the Dune franchise, you'll know what that is. The malware steals NPM tokens and then propagates to the top 20 packages that each token has access to, publishing stolen credentials in a new GitHub repo. The worm also scans for AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud secrets and exfiltrates them to the same repo. Well, this matters because it is yet another zero-day supply chain attack that can spread rapidly across thousands of projects before you even realize you've done an update that hits them. Demonstrates how a single compromised developer account can become an attack vector for the entire ecosystem, and emphasizes that even open source software can be leveraged for credential theft and ransomware. What should you be doing right now if you're concerned about this? Well, enforce strict code review and signing for any NPM package you publish, which, trust me, you're not going to do, because NPM is everywhere in just about anything you're going to install. Require two-factor authentication that is phish-proof, something like a YubiKey for any NPM logins. Use tools like TruffleHog or similar audit dependency trees for secret key leakage before you release. And keep a local read-only mirror of critical NPM packages to avoid automatic updates from compromised sources. Yikes. Cowboy?
All right. So for those that don't know the difference between a virus and a worm in the cyber aspect, a virus is has to be attached to something. You have to put it in a Word doc or a PowerPoint or a PDF and send it, and they have to open it that way. Worms are much more nasty. You have different things like metamorphic worms, which self-propagate and change its code on the go to avoid signature-based detection. And then you've got even nastier polymorphic worms that change its code and structure as it goes. And so what this particular worm does is executes an infected package when it's installed, publishes itself, and releases itself into all the packages that exist on the victim's cloud or computer that they have permissions for. And you can imagine how that can just spread like wildfire. Worms are beautiful creatures from a programming aspect, but they are nasty. And most of the big prolific, worm attacks hit hundreds of thousands of systems across hundreds of countries. And you got to move fast.
Yeah, well, so just to re-hit 187 known compromises at this point in NPM packages. We don't even know if that's really it. That's what we do know. And like I said, NPM it's in everything. You use it for, especially on the Unix and Linux side, it's used everywhere. And it's JavaScript. This is not like some obscure thing. This is like it's everything. I mean, I'm being a little facetious when I say that, but tell me a platform that you use, Cowboy, that doesn't have JavaScript running on it in some form or fashion.
Maybe my Nintendo.
Maybe your 1980 Nintendo. Yes, maybe.
Yep, maybe. Can't even guarantee that. So yeah, I mean, the last big worm that hit was WannaCry in 2017. Right, 300,000 computers in 150 countries, billions in damages. Right, exploiting that eternal blue vulnerability. Yeah. I mean, they're not prevalent, thank goodness, but man, when they hit, they are just nasty things.
Excuse me. All right, in our last story, it's it's a topic we have covered before, but it is a little bit from a different angle, and I think it kind of bookends from our top story a little bit, and I'll explain why here as we go. So affiliates, air quotes, affiliates, flock to the soulless scam gambling machine. A Russian affiliate group called the Gambler Panel, and we've covered them before, has spawned a flood of scam gambling sites that promise $2,500 in credits, but force verification deposits of crypto before payouts. Shocking. The scam relies on a detailed manual that instructs affiliates how to attract traffic, keep users betting, and collect crypto. The program is backed by a network of affiliates worldwide and leverages social media ads, especially on Instagram and TikTok. Why does this matter? Well, as opposed to scattered spider, or spider scatter, yes,
Spider, yep.
yep.
And shiny hunters.
Excuse me, everybody. Hold on one second, please. Um, as opposed to offering a niche of uh, ransom only activity, right, and going small. This illustrates how cyber criminal groups can create a full ecosystem from affiliate recruitment to payment processing to monetization of stolen credentials and ransomware. It highlights the role in social media in recruiting victims and spreading malware and bridging online fraud with real world crypto theft. And it demonstrates the continued use of freemium schemes that lure victims into paying crypto and a strategy that can overlap with ransomware and phishing. So, interestingly, Cowboy, I don't think I told you this. Um, in the last couple of months, I have been receiving letters from the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Department of Justice stating that I was a victim of a criminal activity. I was shocked. I was like, "What the hell's going on?" Right? When I read through the letter and accessed the victim evidence database, which is a real thing, I had no idea. Um, it turns out that uh, back in the day, and I can't even remember how long ago now at this point, I had signed up for a crypto farm to, like, where you bought shares and you got payout and blah 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 stuff like that. And apparently they caught the guys and they're prosecuting them in the States. And I guess my name, or I used my name or my email address for payouts, and there it is. They were a full-blown scam site. I was pretty sure of that after I had done something and was like, well, I'm not getting any money out of that one. Guess that didn't work. I didn't invest a lot, everybody. It was one of those, well, if I make anything off of like a small investment, then like cool. And if I don't, then I don't really feel bad that I didn't spend a lot of money. And that's really where I left it. But some people lose thousands on that stuff. And this is just another example of this taken to a much more broad uh group where now we're doing something like, and we had talked about this before, where it's a pastime and it's a hobby for people to gamble. Um, and the fact that they are able to use social media to recruit victims is just kind of awful.
But
That's my take.
that's really shown the evolution of where this came from and where it is today, right? Like 20 years ago, it was dark web only, only the worst of the worst in there selling to each other and advertising. And now we're on Instagram, just
Oh,
out there in the
right.
open, right? Like, and I'm not going to get on my soapbox about how TikTok is rotting the American culture from the inside and most Western and our allies, but I still said it. But yeah, the fact that you see it in the open like that, just what's next? Commercials on the TV, right? Like right after the medical one that says, "Hey, we'll cure your headaches, but you'll have 15 other devastating side effects," which is
Yeah, right.
awesome. Like, all right, cool. And then right after that's going to be like, "Hey, 2,500 in free credits. Don't go to uh, what is it, booking kings or whatever, like
Yeah, right.
go to Ruski booking kings, right? What could go wrong? Like, cool, that sounds great. So what a weird evolution it's taken, and I
Yeah.
find it shocking that they're able to do it just out in the open like that and willing.
Yeah, like the fact that they have such a broad network, which is just kind of odd for me to even say when it comes to cybercrime. That they have a broad network that they can rely on, that is affiliates that they're not even their prime, they're providing the
Yeah.
service that other people are using to scam people, which is just like, that's, if it wasn't illegal activity, it would just be another form of doing legitimate business. It's just kind of shocking to me that it's gotten that prolific and that out in the, I don't want to say out in the open, but like it's it's so pronounced that they're able to get people to sign up to be affiliated with doing the activity.
Yeah, I mean, we see ransomware as a service. There is a Russian banking Trojan that has a franchise model.
That's crazy,
right? Yeah, like, but they're still subdued to a point. They're not, I have yet to see them, on Facebook Reels saying, "Hey, use our banking Trojan as a franchise owner." But yeah, just being so overt about it is just new.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it's definitely a different dynamic than what has previously existed. Yeah, I guess that's one to end on right there. Cowboy, what else you got for us?
all right, folks, worms don't RSVP. They copy your keys, crash your party, and then invite the whole dang internet. I'm Cyber Cowboy. Stay frosty.
And I'm the professor of CyberRisk. That's all the news for this week, and we'll talk again soon. If you like this podcast, share it with your colleagues and friends. Your support is how we are able to continue to make this content. Thank you.